say I can go through a tough neighborhood, but he saw something in me that he wanted to help, blossom. And when we worked together, he sat with me and he said, man, he said, you got too much love for things and people who don't have no love for you. When are you going to take care of you? And it rung in my head, and I saw that he was serious, and we started to work together. So we got together, put a plan together, and we did everything we intended to do. And at that point, it was way too big. We were, and he would get pissed at me because he have all these great plans for me to become even bigger, and it scared the shit out of me. I went home, I didn't want no parts of that. I was good enough, we had done things, I'm like, this is enough. He's like, what? We got this, we're gonna keep killing everybody. Scared the shit out of me. So he said, all right, peace, Nas. He went off and became what he wanted to be. And that is a brilliant businessman who was a tastemaker, someone who was able to connect the dots in different worlds of business, corporate world, so-called urban world, whatever that means, and put them together for great reasons and do great things. So
I appreciate that.
Let's ask you a question.
Okay. Okay.
How does it, were you scared? Were you scared because you've been there with, a lot of things, Tommy Mottola's, a lot of things you've been involved in the music scene.
Yeah.
Big things, all kinds of things. So, were you scared when did you decide that you were going to leave the music industry? Because I remember you telling me, fuck the music industry. And I also, were you scared?
This is not the kind of room that you're supposed to say fuck the music industry.
You're here to see Nas and Steve Stoute. This is the kind of room where I can say fuck the industry. Yeah. But I'll take that word out. So you were like, forget the industry.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. This is bull. So what made you say that? And were you scared to leave something that was working for you to go to something different?
So what made me leave the record industry was the executives did not know the difference between what was good and what was garbage. And I can assume that you were going through that as an artist. When artists who are not as talented or executives who are not as talented are getting big deals and getting all these things and bragging about it, and I'm saying, but why them? Is it because it's new? That's the same thing like a Ponzi scheme. At some point, it runs out, right? Somebody's gonna get caught holding the bag. And, I didn't want to be around when that took place. And I felt like, if I used the momentum that I had as an executive and took it to another field, I could, trade on some of the things that I've learned in the music business and apply that to another industry. Was I scared? I was very scared, but I was also very unhappy. And, at 29 years old, I remember, I'd had, made a lot of money, and I was still broken up inside because I felt like I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. I was just making money. And that's when I decided to go into the advertising business. And I tell people, not to be very specific, but I will tell you that if I was making $20 a year in the record business, when I went into the advertising business, I accepted to make $1. And people would look at me like I was crazy, but I felt satisfied in making that switch because I felt like it was just something I could fulfill, what I was about and what I stood for. So that's the reason why I did it. And that fear, how you deal with fear in whatever you do for a living is going to determine the outcome. If you don't have fear in what you're doing, it's probably something that's too easy for you to do. right? So there has to be some level of tension in order to rise above. And, you know, some people look at that and it's a daunting thing and they turn away from it, and I ain't dealing with that. And some people look at that and say, I got this. I'm gonna, you know, achieve that obstacle. So when I asked you earlier, first of all, you know,